guns and machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I'd like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have no doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have no doubt that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubt. But they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. So roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have no doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. And I have my doubts. So I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubt that we'll make it back up. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So no wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. The things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night. Wearing me out.
Proverbs 20. Wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whosoever is deceived thereby is not wise. The fear of a king is as the roaring of a lion. Whoso provoketh him to anger sinneth against his own soul. It is an honor for a man to cease from strife, but every fool will be meddling. The sluggard will not plough by reason of the cold, therefore shall he beg in harvest, and have nothing. Counsel in the heart of man is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. Most men will proclaim every one his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find? The just man walketh in his integrity, his children are blessed after him. A king that sitteth in the throne of judgment scattereth away all evil with his eyes. Who can say, I have made my heart clean, I am pure from my sin? Divers weights and divers measures, both of them are alike, abomination to the Lord. Even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure, and whether it be right. The hearing ear, and the seeing eye, the Lord hath made even both of them. Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. It is not, saith the buyer, but when he is gone his way, then he boasteth. There is gold and a multitude of rubies, but the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel. Take his garment and his surety for a stranger, and take a pledge of him for a strange woman. Bread of deceit is sweet to a man, but afterwards his mouth shall be filled with gravel. Every purpose is established by a counsel, and with good advice make war. He that goeth about as a talebearer revealeth secrets, therefore meddle not with him that flattereth with his lips. Whoso curseth his father or his mother, his lamp shall be put out in obscure darkness. An inheritance may be gotten hastily at the beginning, but the end thereof shall not be blessed. Say not thou, I will recompense evil, but wait on the Lord, and he shall save thee. Divers waits are an abomination unto the Lord, and a false balance is not good. Man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? It is a snare to the man who devoureth that which is holy, and after vows to make inquiry. A wise king scattereth the wicked, and bringeth the weal over them. The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord, searching all the inward parts of the belly. Mercy and truth preserve the king, and his throne is upholden by mercy. The glory of young men is their strength, and the beauty of old men is the grey head. The blueness of a wound cleanseth away evil, so do stripes the inward parts of the belly.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, October 7th, 2014. This is your host, Mike Callahan, and welcome to the Watchman News. Wow, it's going to seem like pretty much of the show is going to be about the Ebola crisis. And I'm sure to a lot of people it's going to come off that those that are speaking out about it, are being alarmists. And we're not. It's that simple. We're just not. There's a lot of information that is being withheld. I seen Obama's press conference that he held last night, and that was so misleading. That was absolutely misleading. And information is coming out today of just, wow. And we're going to get to that. It's within our news. We got some great links from some great places, some great information of truth that you're not being told by those that are supposed to be telling you about it, those that are supposed to be looking over us and protecting us, helping us prepare ourselves, because they can't take it into their own hands. They just can't. You know, if we relied solely on police to help with our personal protection, our self-protection, there would be a lot more victims. And I mean dead victims. You know, but if you look through all the police reports and you see the people that believe in their Second Amendment right to bear arms, and they have firearms in their home, and they confront and attack their intruders, and they live. They're not really victims, they're survivors. But see, our government has this inflated ego, this idea that they can come and save the day. And I guess they approach it with the attitude that if they would tell us, there would be mass panic. And that's looking on the bright side of it. Looking on the side that I think it is, I think they intentionally want to spread it. Because what would better bring us to our knees? What would better achieve the agenda that they're after? And they don't hide it. I've asked many times for people to please read Agenda 21. It's right on the UN's website. 351 pages, I think. UN Agenda 21. It's right there. How could it be a conspiracy theory? I don't get it. If somebody could explain to me how it's conspiracy theory when they lay their plan out right in front of you, all you got to do is look at Obama's executive orders. It's all right there. And at some point, you have to ask yourself, how long ago did they know something like this was going to happen? But I'm just a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. Anyway, let's get suspicious observers out of the way, because I have got quite a bit of news in the Ebola area to discuss with you. And then I do have a story about Ferguson protesters and a clash they had with some fans. Very interesting. So without further ado, let's get this taken care of with suspicious observers. By the way, the video, I started it out again tonight with Doubts by Brittain Duckworth, because I just think it's so fitting, and it helps put me in the mood for the show. And it just, you couldn't ask for a better opening to something like this. So I wanted to point that out. And the link to his video is down in the About tab, just like Suspicious Observer's link to today's report is down in the About tab, as always. Well, as usual, unless I forget it. So anyway, let's get that out of the way, and we'll go from there. Enjoy.
Good morning, folks. We begin today by looking at yet another plasma filament cresting over the northeastern limb into view. A couple solar tornadoes in the mix where the plasma interacts with the electromagnetic fields of the sun. 304 angstroms view with yellow enhanced and a high contrast. Top pop on the Earth-facing disk was a smaller filament that released on the south. It's too far to the cresting limb to be geo-effective, but indeed triggered the largest flare of the day, albeit still at low levels. Sunspots have appeared heading for a trough for days, especially with the lack of magnetic complexity in the active regions, but I do spy a larger umbra entering now on the south, just barely. Solar wind in yellow, pretty normal, but we've got some slightly elevated density, and the phi is in a bit of flux, so the Kp is a bit up off the floor, and the electron flux shows a bit of sensitivity to the solar wind at this time. The incoming southern negative coronal hole is not so powerful in the transequatorial extension. Nevertheless, it is about Earth-facing, and a minor seismic uptick may be on our doorstep. It may have already begun with an Earth spot-triggered rumble as Vong Fong tracks right over top of a near six-pointer in the northern Mariana Islands. By the way, Vong Fong is strengthening quickly, and after the quake gave indications that it is ready to swing north. We also took one of those near six-pointers in Chile this morning, straddling shakes in Nicaragua and Argentina. Top stories begin with a nuclear reactor problem at Hunterston 3 in Scotland. Folks, this is not good. We've got cracks in major safety components which may force a complete shutdown and closing of the plant. Details at RSOE. A bit of a "it's about dang time" is what crossed my mind when NASA became the 5th group to claim that the oceans are not warming in the deep and haven't since about 2005. Then I began laughing a bit as they can't seem to figure out why. The actual paper involved here suggests that there is an energy imbalance that leaves them without an earthly explanation. Those at this channel know exactly what's to blame for that, don't we? Also got an animation link describing the HIRAP instrument for monitoring hurricanes. Pretty interesting stuff on that one. Speaking of which, Simon's moisture enters the United States today. We know the track, and the warnings have been coming out for days. Meanwhile, back east, everything is funneling into the convergences of the big Canadian low. So besides the flood risk to the southwest states, we've got storms on the eastern edge and snow and ice coming at the western side of the low. These North Atlantic lows still refuse to deviate much. Northern Ireland saw major wind and storms in the last day. Big convergence area, and also note the slot in that same Mediterranean locations. Clouds should easily tell the tale here. And again, those are the warning zones. Down under, the focus is on an Antarctic low drawing its convergence back north to the southeastern portions of Australia. That will be our top area for Weather Watch tonight. HelioViewer hasn't updated for 4 days, but no worries. We're at Soho, Iris, ISWA, and SDO for shots of our star to close. Eyes open. No fear. It's 6:15 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
And as always, thanks to Ben Davison with Suspicious Observers. And I will remind everybody tonight, I believe it's, or in this morning, I believe it'll be like 5:24 Central Daylight Time in the morning will be the second blood moon of a tetrad. So I do plan on seeing that. I hope I get to see it. So it depends on the weather conditions here. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. And just in the spirit of good humor, I guess we could start this out with Ebola. No, I just had to do that. I couldn't resist. Anyway, I'm going to regret these jokes, by the way. I know we're all going to regret them. So anyway, I want to, before we get any further, I want to get that back off of there. I just want to point out again that a lot of information that, like for instance today, that I've came across and stuff, has been due to a wonderful group of people that's been put together, and it involves Michelle with the alternative news gatherer website, Jason with Saving the Truth movement, Heidi with something to blind for the truth. I should have had this wrote down. They can all smack me. And then Danny's over there, and it's just a wonderful group of people. And we've been working together to try and bring this information out, to bring this information forward. It is no longer about individuals struggling, trying to be top dog, trying to be king of the hill or anything like that. We've became a group of people that are working together in concert, and each one of us have our own little areas of specialty that we bring to the table. And it's just a very, very wonderful, it's a wonderful experience. It's wonderful to be able to bring this information to you. It's just really, really working out well and doing well. And I appreciate all those involved. And it's a true blessing. That's the best way that I can put it. It is a true blessing. There is so much information I know that I would have never ran across. And hopefully I've been able to contribute to the group as well. And that's what it's about. It's about bringing you the truth, because we've come to a point to where it's the only way that people are going to know is if people like us bring it out to you. And so, it's nice having our respective channels and websites and whatnot. I know I don't personally have a website, but we all have different styles of reporting. We all have different ways. We all have different followers and stuff like that, but we all have the same goal, and that's what's important. So again, I want to thank everybody that's involved with that from the bottom of my heart. It's a very special group with a very special purpose, and I think it's going beautiful. I don't think we could ask any more of it. So let's go ahead and get going. Now, in the About tab, I have put down a link to a global incident map, and it will bring you to the outbreak page of that global incident map. Bookmark that, keep it, kiss it, hug it, I don't know, do whatever with it, but just, wow, this site has exceeded its daily quota for maps. If you are the creator of this site, visit the documentation to learn more. I don't understand why that popped up, but anyway, it works really well. You can go there and you can keep abreast of the situation and things that are going on. Of course, they have everything from Amber Alerts to hazmat, forest fires, disease outbreaks, gang activity, border security issues, presidential threat map. I won't make comment there. Terrorism event predictions, new quakes map, drug interdictions map, really, non-terror aviation incidents, new food medicine incidents, and new human trafficking. Nobody would want me. But anyway, so I don't understand why this warning is coming up, but there is indeed a warning that is coming up. But you can see it for a moment there. It is just going crazy. Okay. I don't think that's on my end. I think that's the webmaster has to deal with something there. But anyway, yeah, it's a good source. It's a good place to go to keep abreast of the situation, especially with these outbreaks. I urge you to bookmark it. That's why I put the link down there so that everybody could have it themselves. So let's get on with this. This is no big deal, and they're going to play it off as no big deal, as always. But Connecticut declares Ebola state of emergency. So I thought this was real interesting, and they're going to tell you the same thing they always tell people. They're going to say, we'll read it. Hartford, Connecticut, Governor Daniel P. Malloy has signed an order that gives the state's public health commissioner the ability to quarantine anyone she believes may have been exposed to the Ebola virus. Malloy says Tuesday order is designed to ensure that the state is prepared to deal with any suspected Ebola cases. He says it will allow for more coordinated response to any potential case of Ebola. The order declares a public health emergency, giving Commissioner Jewel Mullen, something like that, the authority to issue quarantine orders. The authority usually rests with the local public health directors. Mullen says there is no reason to believe anyone in the state is infected or at risk of infection. And I'm not saying that there is anybody there that's infected at this current time. There may be, there may not be, but let me throw this at you. And I don't know if I caught that in tonight's stuff or not, and I don't believe I have. And I'm personally waiting to hear more come out about it. But apparently there is a second Ebola patient in Texas. And from what I understand, they went and just grabbed the guy. They grabbed the guy using the executive order that Obama had put in place, saying that if you exhibit, any signs that you may have this, or this, they can just come basically and just kidnap you, just come and take you. It's basically medical martial law is what it is. And they just don't put those words on it because, see, those are alarming words. Those are words that would wake people up to what's really going on here. So let's not cherry code anything. Let's not play games with words. That's what Connecticut did. They declared medical martial law. And I'm not saying there's any Ebola patients there right now, but that's what they're getting ready for, and that is what they actually did. And you just have to read between the lines. But indeed, that is what is going on. So just bear in mind, that's going to be happening across the country, each state. It's just going to go bing, bing, bing. You just watch it. It's going to be coming up. Keep an eye on your own state. I mean, it's going to go across the country. It's going to be national. It's going to turn into a federal thing. Really, I mean, this thing cannot be contained. And we're going to get to that. We are going to get to that. And as soon as it comes up, gotta love slow websites, huh? Ebola outbreak, spread of deadly disease across Europe is unavoidable, warns the WHO chief. And of course, WHO stands for World Health Organization. So, and I'm confused how Obama can come on our national TV and give a press conference and tell us, oh, it's so hard to spread, and and then you've got this gentleman with the World Health Organization saying something totally different. So we'll read. The spread of Ebola across Europe is quite unavoidable. The World Health Organization has warned as 4 people were in hospital after a Spanish nurse became the first person known to have contracted the virus outside of Africa. WHO European Director, you figure out that name, has said while more cases will start, the continent should be well prepared to control the disease. Health officials in Spain today said 4 people, the nurse, her husband, and 2 others, were being monitored in a hospital in a bid to stem the spread of the virus. Such imported cases and similar events as have happened in Spain will happen also in the future, most likely, Ms. Jacob told Reuters. Potato. It is quite unavoidable that such incidents will happen in the future because of the extensive travel both from Europe to the affected countries and the other way around, she said. Ms. Jacobs said European health workers were most at risk of becoming infected, but added that the most important thing in our view is that Europe is still at low risk and that the western part of the European region particularly is the best prepared in the world to respond to viral hemorrhagic fevers, including Ebola. Wow. And don't the U.S. say the same thing? Oh, we're the best at dealing with this. It has emerged that the nurse who had helped the nurse to treat 2 Spanish missionaries who died after returning from Africa with the disease first complained of feeling ill a week before she was diagnosed with Ebola on Monday. A week. Pay attention to time frames. The 40-year-old is understood to have contracted health workers after complaining of a low fever on September 30th. She was only given tests for Ebola, however, when she turned up at a hospital with a high fever on Monday, the Telegraph has reported. One of those hospitalized is a health worker who has diarrhea but no fever. The other is a Spaniard who traveled from Nigeria, said Rafael Perez Santamaria Pinta. Nah, I'm not going to go there. I was going to name all the ships. Never mind. Bad joke. Head of the Carlos III hospital where the infected nurse treated the 2 Spanish missionaries. I can't remember them all anyway. Health official had said 22 people who came into contact with the nurse are also being monitored. They have not been isolated, but they are having their temperature taken twice a day to check for signs of infection. The EU has now asked Spain to explain how the nurse contracted the deadly disease, according to the AFP report. The 40-year-old nurse, who has not been identified but is said to be in stable condition, had up to 30 colleagues who also treated the missionaries who died of Ebola at the hospital in Madrid. A spokesman for the European Commission said the case, the first known case of Ebola spreading within a European country, would be discussed at a Health Security Committee meeting on Wednesday. Yeah, let's just, we can put it off. Well, I don't know why they don't wait another 3 weeks for the meeting. It's not important. The priority remains to find out what actually happened, he said. Officials said they were still investigating how the nurse was infected. She went on holiday for the second of the missionaries she has been caring for died on September 25th, although they stressed she had not left Madrid. Jonathan Ball, a professor of molecular biology, wow, I'm having a bad time talking again tonight, at the University of Nottingham, said the Spanish nurse should have contracted the deadly disease if appropriate containment and control measures had been taken. It will be crucial to find out what went wrong in this case so necessary measures can be taken to ensure it doesn't happen again, he told Reuters. Local media in Spain yesterday reported that staff at the Madrid hospital where the nurse became infected had claimed their protective suits did not meet health and safety requirements, though this had yet to be substantiated. Meanwhile, a Norwegian doctor infected with Ebola while working in Sierra Leone has arrived in Norway for treatment. Officials said she was in an isolation ward at Oslo University Hospital. Now, I want to point back out that second to last paragraph. Supposedly, Mr. Obama, this isn't able to be spread very easily. So if it's not easily spread, how could, not having these crazy, expensive suits stop the spread of it? I mean, really, they are not being honest. Not being honest at all. It's craziness. Absolute craziness. Got to get the truth from somewhere, and they obviously are not that interested in coming out with it. And I was looking to make sure I didn't have it, and I do not have a link to it, but I'm going to tell you about it. And I'm sure I will be covering it tomorrow. And you can go several places. You can go and find out this information. In Spain, they are demanding, and it's probably been done already, they are demanding that they kill this nurse's dog because it's coming out, as a matter of fact, that in Africa, that Ebola is being spread through dogs. Yeah. Where were you on that one, Obama? We got to do something. We've got to get the word out. If you hear this show and you don't hear friends and loved ones and whatnot talking about this, you need to bring it up. You need to talk about it. It's not that you're a doomsayer. It's not that you're an alarmist. This is important. This is not H1N1. This is not swine flu. This is not bird flu. This is not the cold. This isn't the common seasonal flu. This thing kills up to 90% of the people that it infects. And it would seem to me that it's just about as contagious as what the seasonal flu is. And I could, it could be worse. I'm no virologist, but it's definitely spreading. It's spreading fast. There is no cure for it, folks. At least not one that they're that they're letting us know on. They're doing some treatments and all that, but that's why I don't even have that in my news, because it's not news. It's games. It's propaganda. It's not news. That's why it's not in my realm. So anyway, you would think, why on earth aren't we doing absolutely everything we can to put a stop to this? Well, they don't want to. Michelle over at Alternative News Gatherer, and the link's down in the About tab, she's got a story about $140,000 of Ebola supplies sit unused in Sierra Leone. Party politics may be preventing access to shipment. See how they're playing? They don't want to stop this. I mean, really. Let's go ahead and read. A shipping container full of much-needed supplies to fight Ebola arrived in Sierra Leone almost 2 months ago, and is still sitting on the docks. The New York Times reports, in a period that has seen hundreds die, some $140,000 worth of protective gear, mattresses, and stretchers have been inaccessible due to partisan concerns and official disagreements. We're still just hoping, which sounds like begging, that this container should be cleared. An official wrote to superiors when the container had already been there for weeks. Sierra Leone's situation is dire. The nation recorded 121 deaths in a single day over the weekend, Reuters reports. One issue is the country's agency dealing with the virus. It's not clear who's in charge, says a foreign official. Then there are political concerns. The shipment was arranged by an opposition politician, and an official suggests the government doesn't want to give the opposition a reason to boast. Meanwhile, the shipment caused bureaucratic disagreement within the government. They're blaming us for shipping in without authorization, says the shipment's organizer. It appears they're interested in cash donations, and all we have are supplies. The case isn't isolated. The Times points to a man in Canada facing similar problems getting supplies into Sierra Leone. There is no positive response, no feedback, no anything, he says. Wow. The link's down in the About tab. You can click the source link and read more. This is just ridiculous. Here's your politics. And why anybody would believe that it's any different here is absolutely ridiculous. It really is. I've seen things go as far as conservatives, the Republican or right-wing people or whatever you want to call them. I don't wave any flag. You should all know that by now. I don't wave a flag. But now the Second Amendment and the Republican Party and or conservatives and or gun rights supporters and blah, blah, blah are responsible. Really, it's ridiculous. We can go over there and we can go over into Syria and we can spend $1 billion or more bombing empty warehouses, right? But we have no interest in stepping into Africa and saying, hey, look, no more politics, put the politics aside. Let's get these supplies to where they need to go, because it's still genocide. I don't care if you're using a bomb with explosives or whether or not you're preventing somebody from getting needed medical care. It's all a form of genocide. It all leads to the same result. People die. It just goes to prove, one more case, we do not need a government. We don't. And if we have one, it should be like the Constitution was set up, and just, the government was extremely, extremely limited. Not the people, the government. Big difference. Boy, we went 180 degrees in this country from the way it was designed to be. But while we're here, I want to show you something real quick. If you go, not if you go to the picture, if you go to her homepage there, and you go over here to subscribe, I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. I get this every day, and it is just awesome. And here, if you use one of these readers, I don't know anything about the readers, but if you click right here, you put in your email address, and well, that didn't come up on the same page, but if you put in you click on that, you put in your email address every day at around 3 o'clock, 3:30 or so is the time I get it, Central Time. I get this email, awesome email with just absolutely tons of links. I mean, it's just like, this is what you get in your email, and it's awesome. I mean, all kinds of good information. So I wanted to, I definitely wanted to give that a plug. It is a very valuable source of information, and I appreciate, her hard work on doing it. It's amazing. All right, let's get on to the next part of the Ebola fun. We got an article from Saving the Truth movement here. Ebola in Spain, 4 people, including the nurse, hospitalized in Madrid. And we talked a little bit about that a while ago, but we'll go ahead and read this too. Health officials in Madrid say 3 more people are in the hospital, on suspicion of contracting Ebola. The news comes a day after a nurse who treated 2 Ebola patients at a city hospital became infected with the disease. The nurse is now being treated with a drip using antibodies from those previously infected with the virus. Reuters reports. Approximately 22 people who have been in contact with the woman dubbed by media the Spanish Ebola nurse have been identified and are being monitored, Madrid health officials told reporters Tuesday. The officials added that the hospitalized include the nurse's husband, another health worker, and a traveler who had spent time in one of the affected West African countries. Spain's public health director, Mercedes Vinuesa, I know I got that wrong too, told Parliament that the authorities were compiling a list of everyone who had come in contact with the nurse so that they could be monitored, AP reports. The news in Spain said that several treatments available and was employing them Monday. The unidentified nurse is reportedly in stable condition. 44-year-old woman is first known person to have become infected outside Africa. And recently, the U.S. involved individuals contracted the disease while in Africa and then traveling to their home countries. The nurse had reported helped treat a Spanish missionary and a Spanish priest, both of whom came down with the virus while in West Africa and later died after returning to Spain. And a lot of it's the same old. But I'm going to go ahead and read this because, as I know, a lot of this is rehashing the same stuff like in the other story. But if you notice, you'll get a little bit more information different places you go. And that's why it's important to read so many different articles from so many different places, because there are differences in the information. And some of it is extremely vital, like this next paragraph. There is currently no proven known cure for human-safe vaccine for Ebola, which is spread via bodily fluids. Initial symptoms of fever and sore throat develop into vomiting, diarrhea, and profuse internal and external bleeding. Victims may die of multiple organ failure within days of first contact, with some strains killing up to 90% of sufferers. And let's not mess around here. Let's not mince words. This is the strain that wipes out up to 90%. This is that particular strain. I'm no expert. I want to say the Zaire, but if I'm wrong there, people have slapped me. Anyway, the latest outbreak first struck the West African state of Guyana. I don't think that's Guinea. In December 2013, World Health Organization officials, however, did not become aware the disease was raging in the country's south until March 23, 2014. It has since spread to neighboring Senegal, Liberia, and Sierra Leone and Nigeria. Due to a rapid response by authorities in Nigeria and Senegal, infections in both states combined were kept below 24. Apart from Spain, the United States is the only other non-African country to register a case of Ebola. On September 20th, an infected man traveling from Liberia arrived in Dallas, Texas. He reportedly started exhibiting symptoms of the disease 4 days later. U.S. health officials are currently monitoring 10 quarantined people who had contact with the man who remains in critical condition. The WHO has reported a total of 7,493 Ebola infections worldwide. At least 3,439 people are estimated to have died after contracting the disease. In September, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention predicted that 1.4 million people could contract Ebola by the end of January, barring drastic attempts to head off the spread of infection. Wow. Equipment and procedures. Wow, I'm telling you, I'm having a problem here. Failure. I read faster than I speak, so that causes me problems. When you speed read, it makes it kind of hard to read out loud. Spanish authorities have come under increasing pressure to explain how the disease was able to be spread in one of their hospitals. While they say all proper procedures were followed while providing care to the deceased missionaries, reports to the contrary have surfaced. According to The Guardian, staff at the hospital say waste from the rooms of both patients had been carried out in the same elevator used by all personnel. The hospital was also reportedly not evacuated when the second patient, Garcia Viejo, I think it's Viejo, was taken in to receive treatment. I need like a class to study foreign names. Union workers also accused the government of providing hospital staff with inadequate protective clothing. Some Spanish health workers' representatives said the situation should prompt an overhaul of procedures and facilities used to treat those afflicted with the virus. Something went wrong, Maximo Gonzalez Peredo, head of Spain's General Nursing Council, told Spanish news agency EFE, quote unquote, they need to establish if the protocol is correct or not correct so that a case like this that never should have happened doesn't happen again. Wow. And you know, there's a lot of people that's going to be saying very similar things when there's a real outbreak in this country. And people are going to be saying, how come it was never shut down? How come they didn't stop flights from coming into this country? You know, it's ridiculous. We are inviting it. The same as the people in Africa are preventing those there from getting those needed supplies. It's almost like our government is literally inviting it with open arms to come to this country. That article comes from Saving the Truth movement. I also urge you, it's down in the About tab. Bookmark that. Another wonderful place to get news. You look over here, you will see all kinds of different sites here. And it's just amazing. Scott Anthony's part of the group that we're all working together. Heidi, Blind to the Truth. Of course, Jason, myself, Kafka. I see his name in there. I don't want to mispronounce Pink's name. Elite NWO, you see it, X22. Well, I don't know if they're in there or not. Jason, you'll have to let me know. But yeah, I mean, a wonderful group of people that are just trying to get the truth out to you. That's all we're trying to do is get the truth out. So, just like I say, you can do a lot of the same research I do. Just bookmark the sites I show you. Go check out the things I show you. None of us are anything special other than that we research. We want to get the truth out there, and I guess that makes us special in our own way. But what I'm saying is we don't have these just crazy, we all have skills in certain areas, but we don't have these just crazy Superman abilities. A lot of people can research this stuff and get this information. They just have to spend the time. And the only reason why I'm saying that, because I was even attacked on Facebook today by somebody I went to high school with. It's like, what are you going to do when nothing happens? What are you going to do when there's no more conspiracies? And when they're, and it's like, dude, you don't even get it. If he would spend 10 minutes looking at this stuff, he would be like, oh, wow, okay. And I told him, he said, hey, I'm just trying to help. No, if you want to help, man, store some extra food for your family. Store some extra food. Get things to filter water. Prepare. Because here's the thing. It's not just your life that it's saving when you prepare. It's not just your life. It's also the lives of the people that you would be going to try and take those things from when you don't have them. Got to think about that. When you prepare, it's not just for yourself and your family. It's also for whatever poor guy you would run across and take things from if you didn't prepare. I don't understand the logic. I don't understand the sticking head in the sand and running from the problem. It fixes nothing. It just doesn't. And I would think if one's families, if their lives, you know, their loved ones, if that's all at stake, it's at least worth clicking a few web pages and doing a little bit of research and understanding what's going on. You know, people spend a lot of time doing a lot of things, but it just seems so hard to get people to do a little bit of research and know what is really going on in their lives and in their world and everything else. It's kind of scary, to be quite honest. Now I'm going to get off my soapbox. Definitely go bookmark those sites. I see he's got a deal to subscribe to RSS. He's got a nice little site there, a nice little blog site. I don't know how to use a lot of these different. I'm internet stupid, believe it or not. I am. There's so many new things, and with these websites and different things, it's hard to know them all. Anyway, let's move on. I apologize for rambling. It happens. So let's get off the cold event for a moment. Everybody's praying, and oh, thank God. Get this idiot off of here with Ebola. Anyway, racist fans clash with Ferguson protesters at Cardinals. I wanted to cover this because I have been covering a lot of Ferguson, and I wanted to cover this because this has got to stop. It's got to stop. Somebody on Facebook today, and I'm not going to call her out by name or anything. Well, I wouldn't anyway. I mean, she didn't post anything bad. She just posted something, and I had responded to it, and I'm working on finding it real quick. Because it bothered me when I seen it, because it's like, well, yeah, this is what I've been saying. And basically it was asking if why people don't stand out. Why they don't do something. Here we go. Let me I found it. So anyway, it's a picture. It says, you know, over 1 million protesters in 100 cities. Brazil is showing the world how it's done. And, you know, she commented, you know, come on, America, why can't we get things done? And I responded, because when a group stands up for its beliefs, another group smacks them down. Cases in point, Tea Party, Occupy Wall Street, Ferguson. People simply don't understand that the people have a right to stand up for what they believe in, even if it differs from what they believe in. We have been successfully divided and conquered. However, the food riots will probably begin soon if we aren't taken down by illness first. So, and it's a very valid point. And I had posted this article, and that is why. That is the question. We did have 1 million protesters with Occupy Wall Street. That was huge. That was enormous. But just like all the other groups, whatever you want to call them, they successfully divided the people. They got the people to think that it was just primarily a left-wing, you know, and it did get co-opted, don't get me wrong, but it did not. Occupy Wall Street did not start out as a left-wing movement. It started out the same way that the Tea Party started out. It was a group of people that wanted to hold those in charge accountable, wanted to turn back to the ways of the Constitution, and wanted to get this country back on track. Both movements started out that way, but then they got misdirected by the media and misguided by, I personally think, infiltrators helped push them in directions, and then the media steered it from there and got people to be divided on their opinion of this group, and that's why nobody got anywhere. But let's go ahead and go on to the article. Not a great day to be one of the so-called best fans in baseball. Last night at the game against, it says game at, against the Los Angeles Dodgers, a small group of Ferguson protesters began marching and chanting in front of a much larger group of Cardinals fans outside Busch Stadium. Just a few minutes into their demonstration, the Sea of Red responded by chanting, "Let's go Cardinals," in response to justice for Mike Brown. And then everything got way, way worse. Mustafa Hussein, a cameraman for Argus Streaming News, captured the exchange on his live feed, and I missed it last night. Dropped the ball again. You see, Hillian? That's sad that it gives our city a really bad look, he said this morning. The incident was very intense. Here, Hussein's clip of the incident, Deadspin, did a pretty great job of breaking down the worst and most racist comments flung from the Cardinals fan side of the barrier. They start with a man angrily yelling, "If they'd be working, we wouldn't have this problem," to calling the protesters crackheads and telling them to pull their pants up. At the 3-minute mark, a group of young white males began yelling, "Let's go, Darren," as in Ferguson officer Darren Wilson, who shot and killed 18-year-old Michael Brown on August 9th. At the 3-minute mark, a group of young white males began yelling, at about 10:30, a woman yelled, I can't say that, "We're the effing ones who gave y'all the freedom that you have," and later chants, "Africa, Africa, Africa." Many of these fans seem to become upset that the fact that a protester is waving an upside-down flag, which is obviously offensive to many, though as Hussein points out in the tape, it is also technically a sign of a distress or an emergency. At least one man offers something less than the vitriol. Why do people got to try and use big words? At 20 minutes and 20 seconds, a protester asks, "You guys support Darren Wilson?" The man answers, "Absolutely not. Cops should never kill kids, but what you are doing is not helping nothing." The sad part about it is the fans that were there, you have no idea if they came in for the playoff game from outside the St. Louis area, Hussein told Daily RFT. It really portrays St. Louis as a super racist, and I can't say that word, but there's no way to prove those fans were from here. Hussein added that even after this exchange, when the cameras were turned off, not a single Cardinals fan attempted to reach across the aisle, so to speak, and talk civilly with the protesters. They were completely unapologetic, he said. The link's down in the About tab if you want to watch the video that's provided there. And yeah, it's amazing. See how we stay divided. And it's amazing the disinformation that came out about that whole incident, the alleged robbery before. And I'm going to say alleged. I'm not taking a side here. I'm not taking a side. I do know that the video that they smacked in front of everybody's face on TV and everything else is not the full video, because I saw another part of the video to where it looked like he was clearly handing money to a cashier. So, you know, we have to really, really watch who we jump sides on and how we jump sides on things, because we could be on the side and not even know it simply because we were misled by our quote-unquote news that's supposed to inform us. Folks, it's not what it's supposed to be. It's an agenda. It's not news anymore. It hasn't been news for a long, long time. The only place you're going to get news is from like the people that I mentioned here tonight. It's the only way you're going to get news. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hate to burst anybody's bubble. So anyway, got one more just to say that we took our prepping punch for the night. Got a little article on Camouflage, and we'll run through it real quick. Camouflage and Evasion, staying hidden while on the move. And I'll try and get through this as quickly as possible. After a sip of coffee. Personal and shelter concealment, particularly during a tactical situation, is a survival skill that if you cannot master, will leave you exposed. Typically, your camouflage strategy in a wilderness environment would be crypsis, which means you blend into your background to avoid detection. You want to resemble your background to confuse the human eye. You want your shelter to blend in as well. Humans instinctively look for and try to identify a face in virtually any situation. This is likely an instinctive reaction that was used thousands of years ago to locate predators in the bush. Animals know what human silhouette looks like, and anyone tracking you most certainly will know. People look for faces in everything they see, and then they try to identify a body to go along with it. People will look for a head, hanging arms and legs. In a tactical situation, you would look for headgear and equipment that you would normally expect someone to be carrying, such as a rifle and pack. All of these features need to be broken up so what someone is seeing cannot be pieced together and identified as a human body. Trackers will scan with their eyes and never focus for long periods at any one object, and this is particularly true when hunting for others in the darkness. You would use peripheral vision to spot movement while scanning at night. The human face is unique, so your camouflage routine must break up your facial patterns, and this can be done by various methods. Your skin will reflect light or shine. In other words, and thus must be subdued with mud, camo, sticks, or paint, wood ash, boot polish, or charcoal. Oily skin in particular will shine. You want to break up the face so it's not recognizable as a face as the eyes pass over it. Metal objects will shine whether they are painted or not in many cases. Wow, emphasize that wrong. Sorry. Weapons can be wrapped in strips of dark cloth for night movement, and for daylight hours you can use strips of camouflage clothing, which should be prepared ahead of time for this purpose, and use leaves and other vegetation as well. Scopes to include spotter scopes and binoculars, eyeglasses, boot shoe eyelets, watch faces, knives, all can give away your position because of light reflection. Use a black magic marker and or camo paint to subdue small metal objects temporarily, and you can also use mud, cloth, and vegetation for larger parts or objects. The glare from eyeglass lenses can be lessened by blowing fine dust onto the lenses. Obviously, geography plays a role. So blending into your background means that you would use what is available in your environment. Ideally, you would know ahead of time whether you would be in a region that is snow-covered, sandy, heavily forested, and so on, so you can prepare accordingly. If you're setting up a static position such as a guard post or even sniper position, you could use a ghillie suit. They are time-consuming to make, however they can make movement more difficult, so carefully consider the time and effort needed to make one properly. The suits would be heavy to carry or wear and not ideal for pack if you're continually moving for long periods. Heavy vegetation makes for ideal camouflage, but it can also conceal the enemy as well, so diligence is required. A branch with leaves attached along a bunch of grass secured to parts of your body and equipment will help break up any recognizable outlines. However, broken branches and ripped up vegetation is evidence of your presence to anyone tracking you, so be mindful of leaving a trail that can be followed. A human walking upright is immediately recognizable, so you have to do something about this when moving in the open if you suspect others are tracking you. When crossing roadways or paths, crouch or even low crawl across. Trackers can spot movement out of the corners of their eyes, so move slowly and deliberately, especially in open areas. Pause often if you suspect or know you are being tracked, so if you are spotted while on heavy vegetation, your movement cannot be as easily tracked. Pausing will also allow you to listen for others moving. Trackers will attempt to guess your destination, will try to set up an ambush point where they expect you will end up. Backtrack and move left to right to get your destination to confuse anyone attempted to anticipate where you may come out of the brush, for example. In the years past, those on the ground could hear aircraft flying about and could seek cover or conceal themselves until the aircraft moved on. Today, however, with drones readily available to almost anyone, you may not be able to hear or visually detect any air reconnaissance. Overhead cover is important. You should always assume there is overhead surveillance. The typical drone operating during daylight hours will have cameras that may be very well transmitting video and pictures back to the operator in real time. This means the information received is time sensitive, and in some cases, this would be actionable intelligence which could be used by anyone tracking you. Use overhead cover when you are moving about and stay in the shadows when resting. and know where you are casting a shadow because it can be spotted from overhead or from a higher elevation. You may be standing behind it or under a tree, but your shadow is not. Experienced trackers look for these types of signs. Drones may also use thermal heat-seeking devices at night that can detect body heat. You can use water by immersing yourself in it if the weather is warm to mask your heat signature, or use a thermal blanket to help keep your heat signature from displaying. You probably cannot totally mask your heat signature from thermal cameras, but you can reduce it enough to make it look like a small mammal and not a human. Snow caves in the winter can also deflect your heat. Did I read that right? Yeah, I did. But be very careful about chilling yourself to the point of hypothermia in cold weather. Do not climb over objects that you can crawl over or walk around. And of course, never silhouette your body against the skyline on a hilltop. Lie down before you would crest the top and inch your way up over the top so you can view the surrounding area. All good advice. With drones, though, you can conceal yourself a little bit better than what they're giving on. And I'm gonna go through this once. And yes, it involves foil, so bear with me. If you take something like, say, a wool blanket, all right? Lay out a wool blanket. On top of that wool blanket, if you take and put a layer of mylar, on top of that mylar, you put a layer, you laugh all you want, of aluminum foil. Okay, on top of that foil, you put another layer of mylar, then another layer of foil, another layer of mylar, and another wool blanket. I assure you unequivocally that no sensor other than the sound sensor, the audio sensor on that drone can pick you up. Because there's one sensor that they don't talk about and you don't hear about very often, and it's a biometric sensor. A drone can tell you what your blood pressure is, what your heartbeat is, from 10,000 feet in the sky. You don't hear a lot about that. You hear about the cameras, you hear about FLIR, and you hear about all that, but you do not hear much about the biometric sensors, and that's why the aluminum foil. But yeah, if you do that, if you do wool, mylar, aluminum, mylar, wool, right, and like quilt it, it will not see you. I assure you. You have my word. Staying in one place means you can be tracked to that one place. However, if you use the proper camouflage and evasion techniques to reach your base camp, your warrior is now keeping a low profile to avoid detection by anyone that happens to be in the area or enters the area. Once at base camp, you cannot put up a day glow tent, and that is the end of it. A tent is not an ideal in any tactical situation because you can be essentially trapped in one if the camp is overrun. Wow, I'm having a hard time speaking. And your vision is limited while inside. Of course, if you have enough personnel, you can act as guards, then tents may work. But if by yourself in a hostile area, it is not recommended you set up a tent. Some will set up tents, however, and then set about hacking up all the vegetation in the immediate area to camouflage the tent. This, of course, is a sure way of being noticed. If you do cut up vegetation and use it as camouflage, it will wilt after a few days and will immediately stand out. Additional signs of cut brush can be spotted from long distances and from the air. You want to maintain a small footprint to avoid detection. Use tarps or natural shelters in the area so as not to disturb the area. Use live vegetation as camouflage by stringing your tarp between trees, over limbs, and so on without cutting or trampling all of the brush and grasses in the area. Use a Dakota fire hole to conceal your fire, and if you do build an open fire, never place it in front of your shelter. Sitting around staring into the campfire is not something you want to do while in hostile territory. Prepare so you can survive nights without a fire. This, of course, typically only applies if you are being tracked or in a combat situation and must avoid detection. And you can go to YouTube and you can YouTube Dakota Fire, and you'll see a ton of videos on how to do it. Waste must be buried to include human waste immediately, and do so. So it's not obvious you are digging in the area. Pick up a large rock carefully, then dig your waste hole where the rock lay, and then carefully replace the rock. Drones are a concern while at camp, and if you are able to plan, You could use a camouflage netting to conceal your shelter from overhead surveillance. Otherwise, use natural features in the area for concealment, such as an overhead canopy. I've already gone over that. Do not use the same path for every visit to the latrine or any water source to avoid creating a worn path that can be spotted from the air or ground. Use weapons for hunting other than firearms. Yeah, if you've got access to a bow, especially a crossbow, that is much better alternative than pulling out the old 12 gauge and, shooting Bambi. Because everybody and their brother in the area is going to know that you're there and you're hunting. So just be vigilant. I mean, a lot of it's kind of common sense, but I guess to a lot of people, it's not so much common sense. I don't know. You just want to be able to stay hidden. That's the whole thing. Anyway, I ran a little over tonight. That's all right. But, wow, I think we covered a lot, and I will return tomorrow night. May God bless you all. May He walk with you all. Be one with your spirit. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.